Hi, everyone. We are going to wait till the top of the hour and for more people to join. We'll get started, but meanwhile, enjoy this elevator music. I'm going to try not to jam too hard.
Yeah, we need your interpretive dance, Priya, during all of the.
I'm vibing. Exactly.
I'll get you up and going out of bed. And I promise that one day I'll feel fine. And I promise that one day I'll feel alright. And I'll make a cup of coffee with the right amount of sugar, how you like it. And I'll make a cup of coffee with the right amount of sugar, how you like it. How you like it. Don't know how long I'll stay for. It's okay, I'll knock on your door. Won't you come down and get me? I like it when you hold me tight. Make me feel nice. The green in your eyes makes me feel warm.
She did that creepy thing.
Awesome. All right, folks, we're going to give it another minute or so to let folks trickle in, and then we will get started. All right. Feels like as good a time as any. So, hey, folks, thanks so much for coming. This is Open Forum 5. If you signed up or saw the graphic, I think we said Forum Strikes Back, which I am certain is a reference to the 5th Star Wars movie, because that would be really disappointing if it was the wrong Star Wars movie reference. There will be no striking. There's some cool stuff that we're really excited to debut with y'all today. But as always, feel free to jump in the chat, ask questions. Everything's open. And yeah, if this is your first time at Open Forum, I'm really excited to have you guys here. So we do this twice a year. And it's a really great opportunity for you to get to meet the team, some of which you get to see here. There are a lot more GreyNoise people in the chat. So whatever question you drop, I promise you'll get a really cool answer. So without further ado, we'll get started formally and just take you through what kind of the expectations are for today. So we're going to go through some introductions. We will give like a high level overview of what we do. Very exciting. You're going to get a sneak peek at sensors from our VP of product. You're going to get some of the latest from Labs, which we just dropped yesterday. You're going to get an update on GreyNoise Ambassadors. You're going to hear about a thing called NoiseFest. And then we'll take additional questions. But again, feel free to jump in and ask your questions. We'll stop periodically and try and answer them and make sure that you get the answer to whatever you need in the moment. So without further ado, I'll introduce myself. If you don't know me, my name's Supriya. I'm the Senior Community Manager here at GreyNoise. I'm joined by Jordan, who is our other Community Manager. Michael, who is not on the screen, but is here, is also a part of the community team. He is I think somewhere in the Zoom. We also have Jen Andre, who I mentioned, she's our VP of Product, who is going to be talking us through sensors today, as well as Kimber Duke, who is a product manager that's going to be talking us through some of the lab stuff. So yeah, that's the introductions. We're stoked you guys are here. This will be recorded, by the way. So if you have a friend, a colleague, a frenemy, an actual enemy that you want to send this to, the link will be dropped after this and will be hosted on our YouTube. So Jen's going to give us a high level overview of what GreyNoise is and how GreyNoise works. So Jen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Priya. For those of you who don't know what GreyNoise does, effectively what we do is we run a whole bunch of honeypots, which we refer to as sensors, all over the world in various different regions. And by doing that, we collect a lot of what we often refer to as internet noise, but mass scanning activity, exploitation activity, some of the things which could be potentially malicious, things like botnets, but also valid activity from security researchers and vendors that might be looking for stuff. In addition to that, we also collect data around common business services. So we're tracking IPs of things like GitHub, Cloudflare, things that you might use on a daily basis. And our customers use that data, whether it's via our API, our visualizer, or integrations, to compare against the logs and the security events that they're seeing and remove the noise from their logs. So yeah, I think that's a high level overview. I don't know if there's any questions about that, but that's GreyNoise. Jay.
And there are a lot of other great resources out there. If you are not familiar with GreyNoise, we can do a plug for places you can look, but without further ado, Jen, you can go ahead and click into the next one.
Okay, let me make sure I can figure out how to do this. Great. So I'm going to talk about what we're building, which is the ability for our customers and users and community members to actually run a GreyNoise sensor. And you might have heard this teased in some of Andrew Morris's tweets and elsewhere on the internet. We are going to be running an early access program in Q3. So if you're interested in anything that you see here, definitely check us out and sign up. So yeah. So I mentioned before, we at GreyNoise, we love honeypots. We run a lot of them. We are able to collect a lot of interesting activity happening all over the world. And effectively what we want to do here is unlock the ability for our users, whether community users or customers, to be able to run their own GreyNoise honeypots. And you can see here in this little diagram a little bit about how it works. And I'll kind of walk through it. But what we've done here at GreyNoise and what we understand is that from running honeypots is that it's not super easy to do. It takes actually a lot of work and configuration to get them right. So what we built here is a very lightweight way for customers to run a honeypot in their IP space. And effectively it uses VPNs, where on our backend, we're actually running what we call honeypot personas. So these things can be real applications. They can be other honeypot software. Oh, I think Supriya.
Oh no.
You might have lost.
Oh no, what's happening?
You're showing Slack. That's always a risk.
Thank you for the technical difficulty. Somehow I've clicked out of my slides entirely. And they're completely gone. Amazing. That's exactly what I wanted. Perfect timing. Let's just play some elevator music, grab our slides again. I've opened this frequently. Yes, thank you, Google. I am supposed to be here. Yeah, thank you. All right, and we're gonna try that again.
Cool.
All right.
All right, back to running a GreyNoise honeypot. So yeah, again, one of the things we understand is that sometimes spinning up honeypots and maintaining them and managing them is really hard, although you can get some really cool and valuable data off of them. And what we want to be able to unlock for users to be able to do is actually run their own honeypots in their own IP space. We understand that, the things that we see at GreyNoise are going to be different from things that might be seen in certain customer networks, right? So we wanted to make that as simple as possible. We actually did our trial through yesterday. It took minutes to spin one up and make it as configurable as possible. So on our back end, you can kind of see in the diagram here, allow these honeypots to be effectively virtual machines that can be real software or other honeypot software, containers, potentially even physical machines as well. And again, like some of the things customers can do this, make it actually look like their real infrastructure, advertise these things. And through that, again, be able to catch all sorts of interesting activity going on the internet. Another interesting thing about our GreyNoise customer honeypots and the new architecture we're moving toward is the ability, because have the ability to run real software, we can kind of detect more things post exploitation or post maybe what traditional honeypots catch today. So we want to potentially see these things get popped, be able to log all the things that go on that box and provide these artifacts for our customers, and obviously apply all our cool GreyNoise analytics on top of that to find cool things. So yeah. Cool. Cal asked you to go back to Spree Slack.
Absolutely
not. So moving on, I mentioned this, we're running an early access program in Q3. And again, as part of this early access, we have a variety of really awesome honeypot personas that we're building out that look like various IoT devices, various applications and services you might want to like collect data and do some research on. But effectively, you'll be able to deploy a sensor. It's going to be that really easy, lightweight experience. And we will enrich any data that's coming off those sensors against GreyNoise. So you'll be able to easily see what could be noise, right? What GreyNoise knows about that's out there on the internet, and dig into the things that might be interesting that is hitting your network in particular. And from there, you can download PCAPs and full PCAPs and net flow of that data and analyze it. Cool.
Awesome. We have a ton of questions, obviously. So I'm going to start with the Q&A and then I'll move to the chat. So again, if you have questions, please drop them in. The first one is, can GreyNoise distinguish potentially malicious traffic to these otherwise known web resources? And there's a link to lots.project.com. I'm not totally familiar, but Jen, this might have been from the earlier slide of how GreyNoise works.
Okay, yeah, let me see. So potentially malicious, I'm trying to like actually go to the Q&A.
Just you and me.
How do I get to the Q&A here? Comment. Yeah, can you repeat that one more time, Superior? Because I cannot seem to like access the Q&A because I think it's because I'm technically like.
All good. It says, can GreyNoise distinguish potentially malicious traffic to these otherwise known web resources? And this is the IP. I don't know if I'm afraid if I click on anything, it'll now I'll lose the slides again. So we're just going to leave it.
Okay. Yeah. So again, like these things are honeypots on your perimeter. So again, unless you're advertising them in a specific way, potentially to your user base or customers, nothing should be hitting these things, but potentially malicious traffic or malicious traffic and opportunistic scanners. So I think it's one of the cool things about honeypots, right? Like when things hit this thing, like nothing but no good or expected production network activity should be hitting these things. So again, like ideally that allows you, just that data point alone allows you to identify like something is going on here that could be interesting. That answers.
I'd also like to hop in and just talk about like honeypots are primarily set up to monitor like things coming into your network, not necessarily the things going out of your network. So with this question, it looked like those were sites that people would generally go out and contact, like there may be a false 0365 login screen, like it's phishing, but the honeypot would detect like scanning of the network, things that are coming into the network. So think about ingress and egress, and we're mainly monitoring things coming in here.
Yeah. And we refer to these as sensors, basically to distinguish from honeypots that are also used for deception internally, right? Like, so yeah.
Awesome. So the next question is, curious about day in the life of a sensor. How many unique flows, how many sends received, how many HTTP connections, what's the dwell time from plugging in a sensor until it gets its first scan?
Well, yeah, Kimber, I can tell you yesterday we did like an internal demo, like basically a sprint demo, and we immediately spun up a sensor and like immediately we started seeing noise in terms of just opportunistic scanners hitting this thing. So yeah, I don't know if Kimber wants to speak more on the other data. I think high level, like it probably depends on your network, right? But Kimber, you want to?
I mean, this is one of those questions where I've been trying to get our data science team to take a look at this, just like the noise floor of the internet, like how much can you expect? And I love this question because it depends a little bit on your vantage point, but yeah, you can see like scans on your server the moment you plug it in. Like it's really, really fast. It's amazingly fast. And we did an experiment. I think there's a blog for it where like your machine can get popped within 5 minutes when you put it up there. So it doesn't take 24 hours. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen real quick. I do see a hand raise and I do see Andrew Morris. So I feel like he has some insight on this question as well.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, on this, thanks for having me. Hey, everybody. You see any given device that's on the routable IPv4 NARNA RFC 1918 internet is going to see unsolicited communications from approximately 1,000 distinct IPs in one day. And they're probably going to see like quite a bit of quite a few packets from each of those. So by volume, raw volume, data volume, it's not a ton in terms of like byte traffic. I mean, you're talking about basically like tens of megabytes of unsolicited traffic. Like, I mean, maybe it's going to be more if you're going to see backscatter of a DDoS, an ampli DDoS, an amplified reflective DDoS. But really the volume that you're mostly going to see is actually the spread of unsolicited initial SYN packets from approximately 1,000 distinct IP addresses per routable IP address. And where it gets really wacky is that it's not going to be the same 1,000 IP addresses from IP address 1.1.1.1 to IP address 1.1.1.2. You're going to see some locality in that /24. And then you're actually going to see some stuff that's totally distinct. Scanners are all programmed to operate a little bit differently. Some of the huge distributed scanners are going to actually accept their kind of instructions from another like master thing. And some are actually programmed to iterate through the IPv4 space in a certain order. So all of this is just to say that Jen and Kimber are exactly right. The second that you put something up on the internet, you've got maybe 10 seconds before the first thing hits you, like maybe. And then after that, you're going to see the traffic start to ramp up, especially as it gets indexed by Census Showdown, et cetera, because that's what a lot of adversaries are actually using to seed their targeting steps. So hopefully that gives you some kind of answer of how noisy the internet is. Also, thanks for having me. Guest celeb shot. I'm out.
This is why I love this question so much, and like what sensors are really going to allow us to do, as well as like learn more about how, like, we know for a fact you're going to get scanned within like a minute, 10 seconds, putting your thing up on the internet. As soon as it has a publicly routable IP, it's going to get scanned. But what are the different variations in where it gets scanned from, depending upon where it is placed on the internet? So something in the United States is going to get hit by something in China, like something in Guam is going to get hit by something somewhere else. So it's just interesting. We're going to find out so much more with customer hosted sensors. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I am excited about, like, again, these things getting indexed in Showdown and Census, right? So again, a lot of the activity we see today are just people scanning literally everything, right? Whereas we know that, again, attackers are using these same sorts of tools to enumerate certain networks. So you put something somewhere interesting, again, like that, it might not, again, the thing targeting it might not be scanning like a bunch of other stuff all over the internet, so we won't see it. But there could be a data point, like if you just see it scanning you, that's definitely something valuable and something that you care about. And again, today, like just the way we're placed, like we don't see a lot of that activity, but that activity is certainly like valuable to customers. Cool.
Yeah, something I'm really excited about for customer facing sensors is that we only have so many personas that we actually track at GreyNoise right now, because we're pretty sure we only follow kind of the different sort of things that we are pretty sure our users and our customers care about, but that's still, you know, dozens of personas. And it's not quite the volume that we would need to see to definitively determine patterns in what scanning is occurring, but depending on where something is and what it's pretending to run, what it's running, what it looks like. So all of that is to say that we're missing a big part of the equation, to Kimber and Jen's point, and we're just not going to be able to tell who's targeting what kinds of software and what kind of localities, we're not going to be able to tell until we actually get to a certain sort of threshold of adoption. And as soon as we do, like as soon as we do get to that threshold of adoption, we're going to be able to see just a bizarre amount about how people are targeting. It's basically going to become, we're going to be able to reverse engineer a lot of different devices and networks and actors targeting patterns. And so that's something I'm really excited about.
Yeah. And to like the earlier slide, again, we have the ability to run a variety, like really anything that you can kind of virtualize in our backend. So again, the early access program, we have our labs team cranking away at a bunch of awesome different honeypot personas. But our goal is to let users actually contribute their own VMs, their own containers, so that we can kind of build that corpus of interesting honeypots or interesting applications that we might want to let our users put out there. And yeah, I think for the early access program, we definitely want that feedback, right? If you have a cool idea or like something virtualized, you want us to like throw up on our persona library. That's the sort of feedback and like that input we want from the users who are testing this out.
Awesome. I think that kind of answers this question, but I'll verbalize it for folks. So Jen, you can give like a direct answer to this one, but what does user level configuration of a sensor look like? Are we able to select listening for services like SMB, LDAP, and RDP, but not SSH or HTTP?
Yeah, I think again, for the first version of this stuff, and we're kind of working through all the configurability details because it's a huge rabbit hole of like how much configuration we can allow and like kind of build a UX around. But effectively, like, again, if you give us something that like an SSH that runs on certain ports, like as an image, then that's effectively what we're going to run on, right? So again, it's really like from a technical level, like there's really kind of no limitations. Again, if we can get that software packaged up as an image, a VM image or a Docker image, we can run that, right? Now, again, like post like turning it from an image to like a live container, like how much configuration we're going to allow and what that experience is. And we're still kind of working through that. But again, this is kind of like the power of us like having this virtualized infrastructure is that we can kind of tune configurability based off of what our customers needs.
And then I think this is the really valuable question. Will we have direct access to that data, or is it received and retained by GreyNoise exclusively?
You will have access to that data. So for the EAP, we're focusing on the kind of network side in terms of being able to collect and analyze it and expose it to customers. So you can see here in this UI, you'll get this high-level NetFlow view. And then when you click that Export All Sessions button, that returns to you full PCAP and NetFlow records that we're collecting from those sensors. In a future phase, like, again, we're going to add like application logs and other sort of host-based artifacts to that. But yeah, like our intention here is to let our users have access to that data. Again, like we expect you all to also be able to find interesting stuff in that and share it with the rest of the GreyNoise community. But yeah, like I think a core principle here is we want our users to be able to see the raw data and all the stuff that's happening on our sensors.
Awesome. We just have like a slew of incredible questions in chat, so I'm gonna try and filter through some of them. A great one that says, "Can that VNet get any deeper, Andrew?" I'll just throw that one out there. And then one of the questions is, will GreyNoise tag the honeypots based on sector, like e-commerce, utilities, healthcare, etc.?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very common use case we've heard about this data. And it's definitely on our roadmap. So yeah, like, again, if you're a customer in healthcare and you see some activity, or someone else, like another customer in healthcare sees that, right? Again, it might be an IP that's not scanning the whole internet, but it's specifically scanning your sector. And we want to be able to expose that information because that's valuable.
Yeah. Awesome. I am going to keep going. Annie plans to do in-cohort ranking tagging. For example, metrics derived from a sensor deployed in healthcare would pool with other healthcare metrics, giving an eye towards healthcare specific insights, et cetera. Kind of, I think, where we're going.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to the previous question, but yeah, I think this is something that, again, we're noodling over with our labs team to figure out, again. And again, there's all kind of these open questions, like how many times is this thing like an IP you need to scan a certain number of healthcare addresses for it to actually be a trend that we have to work through. But I think that use case is certainly something that we are thinking.
Awesome. I'm seeing some great discussion around security scores, security scorecard, IPs, honeypots, et cetera. But it seems like chat resolved itself. How often will GreyNoise deployed sensors communicate back with GreyNoise systems?
Oh, it's basically real time. I hate using that word in cybersecurity, but effectively, again, the traffic is just passing through. So from the the person connecting to your IP space, it's transparent, right? Like it seems like they're hitting a box on your network, even though the traffic is being tunneled, and basically the responses are being handled by the GreyNoise honeypots running in the GreyNoise backend. So as the, again, traffic comes in, as we see someone hitting that sensor, we're going to log network activity. And yeah, that's going to be in near real-time availability in our product.
Cool. And Askin, same, yeah, exactly. Gave a great answer in chat. Every 50 minutes, but close to real time as possible. Lots more exciting things happening in chat.
I see stuff about running Minecraft and Roblox. Send that over to the labs, the persona roadmap team.
I know. I think we did answer this question, but I'll just again verbalize so we can really hammer the point home. Is it possible to make customer run sensors use custom TLS certs with custom apps to make them more discoverable by threats looking for specific targets?
Yeah, I think this is a question we identified early on that we need to figure out how to.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's nothing like preventing, again, someone configuring on the image itself, the VM image or the Docker, like a TLSer, right? The challenge becomes in decryption, right? Today, we're kind of like tapping outside of the actual container, we're tapping that network activity and logging PCAP. Yeah. So we would need some kind of way. And again, it's not an unsolvable problem. There's security products that do this all day long in terms of like decrypting network traffic. But yeah, like in terms of being able to, like, this is a thing that's a problem that's certainly on our roadmap that we want to address. Simply because like adding TLS to a web application just makes it look way, way more legit. But yeah, there are definitely details to work through, but that is on our radar.
Awesome. And this is the last question for this section. And then if folks have more, feel free to drop them in, but we'll take them at the end too. The last question is, with the continuous stream, what is the average daily bandwidth consumption?
Yeah, I don't know if like Kimber, we can kind of speak to maybe the consumption, like, again, these things should only be hit by bad stuff, right? Like this is not like your production network where you expect, your thousands of customers to be hitting these honeypots. So I know today, like the actual traffic that we see on our sensors from like both a bandwidth and like the data collection, like the size of the data, it's not super, super large. And again, there's caveats here. Like if you like manually try to like run a whole bunch of scan and exploitation activity against your sensor in particular, it's gonna generate more traffic. Kimber, I don't know if you have anything else to kind of speak toward the traffic profile that we see from honeypots, but yeah.
No, I would definitely expect it to be like absolutely under 5 gigs. I'd be surprised if it reached a gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Just to address in chat too, like we have a ton of customers that are using GreyNoise data, right, to help. And this is just like another level. So plug for Sensors Early Access, great way to test in your network, help us understand use cases better. Yeah, feel free to reach out. I'll have this email up at the end too. But like I said, folks, if you have any other questions, drop them in chat, drop them in the Q&A, and we'll make sure to come back to them. But Kimber, it is all you. And muted.
Thank you. I lost the mute button when you gave me control of your screen.
Okay.
That was very strange. So hi, I'm Kimber. I'm here to talk about the release of our Labs API. And this is a brand new feature. It is in beta right now. And I guess I should probably start with an introduction of what the Labs team at GreyNoise is. This is our research and development team, so to speak. This is the team behind doing all the research into the emerging threats that are coming out, the team that's building the tags, also doing the data analysis on all of the data that we collect from our sensors and finding those interesting things. The ones that are going to develop personas and do the research into what would be best to bait people with. So within all of that, the people who are having the most fun with the GreyNoise data, I say this as a biased person because I started out on the GreyNoise research team, which has evolved into the Labs team. They've come up with this Labs API, and it's a very quick delivery method for accessing data that gives deeper insights to what we're collecting with GreyNoise. So this is something where our Labs team can put it out, get it to users, get users looking at it. It's the top 1 to 10% of the data available in the data sets. And it's purely through API that's powered by GraphQL. So very accessible, a little bit of a learning curve, but not too bad. You do need a GreyNoise account to access it. And then when you're on the GreyNoise visualizer, you will get a link that says Labs and then has the little beta tag. Or you can just log into GreyNoise and then directly go to api.labs.greynoise.io. So once you're there, you will get a screen that directs you to the Labs playground.
Are you getting, okay.
Yes. And in that playground, there are, let's see, 6 different query types that you can do right now, and these return a lot of data. The first type is a generate GNQL. This is, you put plain text in, such as like, I want to see bad IPs in the last day, and then you'll receive a GNQL search back. So this is really handy for if you don't know the exact way to GNQL search something, you can just put text in here and receive a GNQL search back. Noise rank, this determines how noisy a given IP is, or it can return the noisiest IPs. And this is determined by the amount of hits and how many sensors an IP has hit. That makes it noisier than others. So you can either throw an IP address in there or just get that list back and see if there's anything interesting in it. Perhaps the most hyped one is top C2s, and these are potential second stage IP addresses or command and control IPs. You can get them back. They're ranked by this term that we're using called pervasiveness, and that's a calculation of 0 to 100 on how many hits there have been on how many sensors. So something with 100% pervasiveness is hit like most of our sensors. Things that have a lower number of pervasiveness haven't hit as many sensors, and they've also not attempted as many times. So you can get this list of the top C2s back, dig through there. There are also payloads in there as well. So if you're curious about that and what those look like, you can get those back. Top HTTP requests, same concept, the HTTP request ranked by pervasiveness. So the loudest things that we're seeing blasted out there. Top knocks, this is an interesting one. Basically, if something scans us and does it enough times that it gets into our data set, then we'll actually go and knock on their door and see what they're hosting and grab those HTTP headers and put them into this data set. So you can, with this, you can identify like compromised devices or what things are masquerading as, or just kind of what infrastructure some scanners are using. The last one, top popular IPs. These are community searched IP addresses to see what's interesting today. Yesterday, when I checked this out, the top IP address was one of the Move It vulnerability IP IOCs. So we knew that a lot of people were searching for those IOCs in GreyNoise, and it can alert our research team to look into an IP address. Usually the top result is Google, just people testing out our interface, but every once in a while something rises to the top. Next one. This is what the interface looks like. When you click into the playground, there is actually a link on the left-hand side. If you're not familiar with GraphQL, you can click on the little thing that looks like a CPU to do the GraphQL Explorer. And you go through, you build a query and check the boxes for what you want to see. And that adds it into the query interface, and you just send the query, get information back. So you can see in this one, I've included a noise rank. I want the query info, so I want to know how many results are available and what the limit is, how many, and then I want the actual data returned of IP addresses and their noise score. So that's what this is showing. Not all of us are familiar with GraphQL. That's why we have this nice handy dandy playground interface. Forget what it's actually running on, but it works pretty well to just like help build those queries out if you don't have the experience of doing it. So want to make it as accessible as possible in API format. This is an example query for the top C2 IPs. So I've built the query out. It returns all the fields that we have in that data set. So the source IP, the pervasiveness, the payload, how many hits we got, what the C2 IPs are. If we have a domain, we will return that as well. But obviously, I think the most important part in these is the payload. I will say most of what we see in the C2s is all the different Mirai variants, with some other fun stuff as well. So again, these aren't the full data sets, but they are very interesting to trawl through. And we want your feedback on this, because when we get your feedback, these things can get productized, and for our VIPs, you get access to those as well. So there's a lot of potential for getting the full data sets of these if people actually find them interesting. We know for a fact that the labs team finds them interesting and derives a lot of value, but we're not sure if our customers will or not. So definitely interested in what everyone thinks. And to do that, you can email labs@greynoise.io and we'll get it, receive it, talk to us, be friends. I saw a couple of questions come through.
The first one is, or maybe the only like verbalized question is just for top Knox, is that just HTTP, or do you check other services, SSH info, SSL certs, SMB versions, databases, etc.?
I believe it's just HTTP, but there's definitely the potential for more. Yeah, right now it's just the HTTP. So what the hosted like headers are. There we go. That's the word.
Awesome. I don't see any questions in the Q&A. Any other folks that have questions about this? This, like I said, it's live, and like Kimber said, it's live. You can access it right now. We dropped it yesterday, so it's fresh farm to table data. If you, again, have any feedback or questions, I dropped that email. It's labs@greynoise.io, and they can always, talk through whatever you might want, or go down the rabbit hole with you, because I think that often tends to be what happens. Cool. Moving right along, we just wanted to kind of give an update on the ambassadors program. So you might have seen the blog post we dropped about a month ago. But the long story short of this is that we officially have kicked off our ambassador program. Applications are closed. All folks have been notified. We have 32 ambassadors, some of who are here right now and are currently talking in chat. And are extremely active. I just want to call y'all out. I see Cal, I see Cody, I see John, I see Corey, Matthew, and I'm sure I missed a couple names here or there in the attendees list, but yeah, you should drop a name if or drop a note if y'all are ambassadors that you're here. But seriously, like these are people that have been active staples in our community for a long time. They are here literally answering your questions, piling on questions to us, bringing other people into the community. So we are just so grateful for ambassadors. We wouldn't be like GreyNoise the way that we are without our community. So just like a massive shout out to y'all. We're stoked that you're here. So far, these 32 ambassadors, 4 have booked How I Use GreyNoise sessions. If you haven't seen those before, they're just use case discussions where people get to showcase like the cool and interesting ways that they use GreyNoise. I mean, people have shown us things from like identifying like headless browsers to showing us how they use it in like an OT ICS capacity, to using it in our core SOC use case, checking out like their honeypot data. So as we grow as a product, and like all our company, as our company grows and our product grows, and we add more features and more data, we love seeing like these updated versions. So if there's something that you want to do or a use case that you want to show off, I highly recommend it. Spoiler alert, it really does help your chances if you want to be an ambassador next year. So highly recommend doing that. And so one of the benefits of ambassadors is that they have 5 VIP access to give away. So if you see an ambassador here and you really want a VIP access pass, you can hit them up and they'll get you set up with those with our team. And what that is like basically a full version license of GreyNoise for free. So we do that for the community. Ambassadors have access to those. If you would like to mooch one off of them, you have to ask very nicely. And of course, pictured here is the cool swag that our ambassadors got, which was a Faraday bag for their phone and keys, a really sick t-shirt, and some sick stickers. So yeah, that's it for ambassadors. And if you're interested, we'll be seeking out applications for next year in 2024. So keep us in mind, and we hope that you stay active in this time. So amazing. And this is something special. I'm going to leave it here and I'm not going to explain it. But if you are in Las Vegas for Hacker Summer Camp, there is this thing called NoiseFest. It is the first time. We've never done anything like it. If you are interested, we will be dropping a link to pre-register and like basically get on the list to be notified when we drop tickets. And that's it. I'm not going to say any more about it. I'm just going to leave this really cool graphic here. Awesome. Great. Okay, well, we have time for additional questions. I'm going to leave these up here so that you guys can have the emails for sensors and stuff. Yeah. Any questions? Vibes? Chat is popping off. I love that. Amazing. Folks, well, that is basically it. We won't take up much more of your time. We so appreciate y'all being here. Ambassadors, thank you again for everything that you've done. And for updates, I hope that you guys continue to follow us. We're sending out the Noise Leather monthly now. We've got product updates posting on a blog. Please join community Slack. So I think that you have the link that Jordan's dropped. She'll drop it again. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week and a great weekend. Thanks, guys.